I am so excited to speak with you. Look, a VFX supervisor is a position I don't know much about, but I'm so interested in learning all about. But I want to learn a little bit about you, Ed. I want to know what was a early visual effects shot that inspired you? What was something that you saw that kind of kicked off this path now to working on the monkey?
So visual effects for me is, I mean, when people ask me what it is, it's it's creating the impossible. What do we want to see on camera that we can't shoot for real? It's either impossible, maybe it's too expensive, maybe it's utterly unsafe. It's creating magic, it's weaving magic. So for me, it's some of the early things that inspired me was miniature models in Star Trek, in Star Wars, and I was a kid playing with model airplanes that I made with my dad, and we wanted to figure out how do I make those look real? How can I take my camera, make a like point my stills camera at it. Okay, I light it on fire. Wait a minute, that doesn't look right. The fire's way too big. And figuring it out from there. And then the first movie that I saw that said, "Oh, this is an art that can totally transform how I see the world," was Alex Proyas's Dark City, because that movie, I had no idea when it was made. Its aesthetic was it was Art Deco, it was the 40s, the 60s, and then buildings started transforming everywhere, so it's clearly modern. When I saw it, I had no idea when it was out, and that's when I knew that creating imaginary worlds and telling stories in it was something I had to do.
Oh, I love that because I mean that's a great era for VFX. It's a great era for that. I was a big stop motion fan, like the Tim Burton movies. Seeing that and going, why does that look so uncanny, otherworldly? But then being like, how? How did you do that? I think that's how this kind of industry works for our brains of like you want to see the how. And I think that's so interesting about your job is you really do make that, like you said, that magic, that impossible happen.
Yep. I love it. I love the challenge. I love the craft. I love the art. I love watching people watch the movie and have no idea what we've done.
Yeah, I think that is always like the especially nowadays where sometimes VFX are so obvious that I love the blending in. I will have to say one of my favorite early credits you have is tell me anything about working on House of the Dead. Please, what do you remember? I know not many people are going to bring that up to you, but my audience loves B horror from the 2000s. So,
So House of the Dead, it is on my IMDb. That is true. The one of the early formative Uwe Boll films. I was I want to say I was a kid. I was so young. It was one of my very first jobs. It was the first film I ever worked on, feature film that I ever worked on. I was like the most junior assistant editor, and we were assembling. I mean, they do the edit, and then we take the edit and assemble everything together for the final master. And then I was probably going in like painting out little bits of white nig dirt and dust that didn't get cleaned up. So that even back, I mean, I was into video games, so working on a video game adaptation at the time was really fun. But I don't think I've ever actually seen the whole finished film.
as much as I like to respect filmmakers, that is a movie I don't think a lot of people really wanted to finish. Though again, I my audience loves it. So as soon as I saw it on your credits, I was like, "Oh,
Oh boy.
we need a
Oh
moment for
boy.
this." But let's
Well, it
jump
was
into Oz Perkins, and this is your
absolutely.
second time jumping into a universe back to back from going from Longlegs to the Monkey. How is it vacationing in the world of Oz Perkins, and do you need a break from all the insanity now?
I'm not getting a break yet. Yeah, he's continues to keep busy if you see what's coming up next for him. Yeah, I was working with the producers, some of the producers who produce Longlegs on other projects, and Oz was coming in town, and there was a show coming up with Nicolas Cage. And I was asked, do I want to jump on there as a supervisor, work with him in prep and help film it from a visual effects perspective. And we got on really well. And pretty much the day that we wrapped on Long Legs, they said, hey, take a look at the script. What do you think? And on that top cover page said, based on the short story by Stephen King. And so I knew I had to do that one. So every page I turned was some new absurd thing. And I don't know how we're going to pull all this off. but I knew I had to try.
I love the absurd things that we get in this film, and I think the monkey is unlike anything I've seen from Oz Perkins. I've been a fan for quite a bit, and I will say it even feels like visual effects. It feels so different. I mean this in the nicest way. There's almost a cartoony quality. I call this Looney Tunes with gore during my review because I just loved it. Can you talk about the visual style and wanting to translate what I believe is a very fun and dark world, and you guys executed that well, even down to someone being lit on fire feels perfectly in that tone.
So Looney Tunes was a term that was used quite a bit in Oz's vision settings, and most of the crew was from Longlegs. So folks from Longlegs, we all moved over to the next one, onto the monkey. So there's a big tonal shift that everyone on the crew had to really wrap their heads around too. So he had a couple like strong ground truth anchors for us for tone. An early one was Gremlins, and then other 1980s, kind of the darker side of the Amblin type tone. So Death Becomes Her, Joe Dante sort of things. You probably read he'll refer to Robert Zemeckis with a tiny bit of acid. So those kinds of things were some strong references for us that we knew, okay, we don't know how far we're gonna go, but let's go as far as we can and see how it goes. So when we're talking about the big deaths, the big kills, everybody would have three times as much blood in it as a normal human body would by design. The number of times we're sitting around that production room table and talking about the blood and guts cannon and what's coming out of it today was absurd, and we'd just be sitting around thinking, how are we getting paid for this? How is this our job today? But it was really part of that design, and Oz had an incredible sense of the tone he wanted to present, how that would present through the different kills, which kills would be gruesome and gory, which would be more comedic, when we're going all out for blood and when we want to hold back. It wasn't about the most blood, the most splatter every time. It was about what's the best impact for this moment. And it all started from the core of the story, the character's journey too, as much as just creating something wild and Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I love that care because it does make the more graphic, the more impactful kills
Hmm.
stand out when it is next to. I'm from like Japanese splatter films, and
Yeah.
that's what this reminds me of like I've seen spray blood, but in the next scene, you're like, that was the most gory graphic thing I've ever seen, mostly Takashi Miike movies. And
Hmm.
I just love that you guys captured that Japanese horror feel to this. So is there a particular, moment in this film? It may not even be a kill, maybe a tricky shot. I always remember hearing about like trying to get shots through like a door that's like you don't oh what was it, the Nightmare Before Christmas, the door, him turning, it's one of the most hard shots in that movie. Is there a shot in the monkey that you're like, you don't understand how difficult that this was to capture?
Well, I'm gonna have to think about that for a moment. We planned out most of the big moments pretty well. We tested things through. Like I got to work very closely with a practical effects team. So every kill, every moment, we don't say, "Oh, it's visual effects," or we gather around the table, the production room table, and talk about this is the vision. Is it stunts? Is it practical effects? Is it visual effects? And often it's a combination of each. It's ingredients from all of them, and then at the end, the editor assembles it together, and visual effects ties it all together. So when we came through, to me, there wasn't any one that was particularly much more difficult than the other because we're quite methodical in how we planned it, how we scheduled it out, how we designed it. The special effects teams would create these amazing little videos of each of their moments to say, does this work? Do we like this? Now, on the visual effects side, we would test things out. We would do these little test videos to say, hey, is this what's going to work? So one of the early kills at the Benihana restaurant, for example, we built we built a whole sequence of that, showed it to the director, said, "Is this what you're after?" And then by the time we got to set, I mean, it's not a big budget movie. We don't have days and days to film these things. Sometimes the assistant director, bless his heart, says, "Okay, Ed, you're up. You have 45 minutes. Go." And we just got to bash through this stuff. So the challenge comes in the time to get these amazing moments within a chock full schedule, you have a film with a lot of scenes, a lot of moments, a lot of locations, and other challenges like Hal and Bill are played by the same actor. So in the Benihana sequence, of course, we have um, well, the trailer suggests what might happen. You'll see it in the film, but we also have one actor playing two characters in that scene too. So there's an additional challenge of managing that. How are we going to put him in how are we going to put him multiple times in one shot? How are we going to plan the day? So he's over here and then he's over here. So that becomes a collaboration between visual effects, hair and makeup, and scheduling all working together. So when I'm thinking about the challenges, it encompasses so much more than just visual effects.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still blown away by the Parent Trap special effects from the 90s. So in this movie, I'm like, I mean, just looks great. And I spoke with the editors last year of Longlegs, who seem to be the editors for this project, and
Greg
they
and
said
Graham.
something very similar. Where I think outside we see the chaos of this movie and how controlled it is. And shout out to ADs. My goodness, ADs and low budget films making everything work like this. I know I love that, and I just love the confidence you have in it. Is there a particular kill, maybe something we've seen in the trailers, possibly that you were like, that is something I will hold in my demo reel of kills I've gotten to make?
So this is the one that Neon released early as a teaser around Christmas time was Aunt Ida on fire. I am enormously proud of that sequence. So there's a few different versions of Aunt Ida's demise in early scripts. This was one where we had a plan. Maybe it was going to be stunts. Maybe we're going to light up a stunt person on fire. That was plan number one. Then it comes to the AD, the assistant director. And as he and the stunt team are working out the schedules to do it right, to do it safe, we didn't have enough time. Every
Mm.
reset, every time we did another angle, every time we did take two, it would take an enormous amount of time for reset, redress. And we had maybe half a day to film it, not say a day and a half. So then we said, well, okay, visual effects will support, but we don't want it to be like CG fire. CG fire can be good, but I'm sure we've all seen for every time we have not noticed that it was CG fire and thought it was real, there's probably been another time where we said, that's definitely some CG
Yeah.
fire. So for me, visual effects doesn't mean computer generated. So what we did for that whole sequence was every bit of fire in that scene is real fire that we filmed, but we didn't do it at the same time as we filmed the actress. So we would have first Sarah Levy run through the scene, do her moments, either Sarah or the stunt double with some wonderful burn makeup. But we filmed her with this halo of light around her, this LED light that our lighting crew, Yanni and the gaffer and her crew built for us. And that through interactive lighting all around the space. So we'd have lighting on her, lighting in the space, it's flickering. We'd run her through. And then we would put some black fabric around, and our special effects team had this black dummy head wrapped in black fire retardant material, douse it in igniter fluid, light it on fire, and mimic her movements exactly moving through that space. So same camera position. They're watching Sarah's performance really intently and then matches everything she does, running through the space. So we have the lighting and the actress on one side, we have the fire in the same space on the other side, and then the visual effects team marries that together. So that was so much faster and safer than lighting the person on fire, but we're still getting the authentic movement through the space, how it feels on camera, the exposure, everything, and we're throwing real light in the environment. And then, I mean, it's still phenomenal work from the visual effects team marrying it together, and that was led by the supervisor Tom Rolfe at the company Cosa VFX in Vancouver. So that's one where there's a lot of pieces that came together, and I'm very proud of that one. It's phenomenal visual effects. It's collaboration between stunts, special effects, scheduling, um, special effects, makeup, all the pieces together. And for me, that's the best of filmmaking. Everyone collaborating together. We're not just taking something and saying, "Oh, VFX will figure it out. They'll CG it all later." For me, the best work comes from the collaboration of all departments with a strong vision from the director at the head of it.
No fix it and post for you guys. No, what I love there, I just love I think you just inspired some kid who is into VFX. That story you just told him, I think just light bulbs are just going to go off. I think you
I
just
love that.
dark city to kid there for him now. Thank you for that. No,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Ed, for
That's so
talking with
kind.
me about that. It's a great conversation. And I love this movie so much. And I cannot wait to see what else Oz is going to cook up and what else maybe you can cook up as well with him.
Wonderful. Well, we're busy cracking away on it. I can't wait for everyone to see it.